What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another market update. We're going to take a look at loose, complete, vintage Star Wars action figures. I've got a vehicle or two in here. Big sales price on a complete Jawa Sandcrawler. That was a little surprising. And lots of last 17. That seems to be the running theme from a lot of you that you want, hey, I'm trying to fill out my collection and I'm on last 17 and I want to see some prices for some loose, complete last 17. So I've got some of those. I've even got some Droids figures, as you can see by this thumbnail. Another Sise Fromm sold for big money. So I just want to say thanks to all my Patreon supporters. You guys allow this channel to happen. Patreon.com/actionfiguregrader is where you can go to sign up to get 24 hours early access to my videos. All right, so let's start off with one 12-inch figure. I just thought this Stormtrooper was in particularly nice condition. I just love the white on this one. A little bit of yellowing, maybe, but not much. I mean, that's a pretty clean looking, a pretty clean looking 12-inch Stormtrooper, complete with the long blaster rifle. And that one sold in an auction from LM Lane 3. I bought from that seller before. Always has really nice high quality stuff. $163.50 plus $10.99 shipping on that one, but that is a super clean looking 12-inch figure. So that's the sales price on that one. Here's that Jawa Sandcrawler. It was complete with the ladder, with the elevator, with the remote control. Very tough to find those. Very clean looking example. $1,100 on that one. $1,100 was the sales price plus $30 shipping. And I also, by the way, I did see an incomplete one without the ladder or the remote control that sold for $400, just the Jawa Sandcrawler itself. So it's a very pricey item. Certainly is a cool looking vehicle from the early 1970s. And here is a Leia, Princess Leia. This one was the Taiwan COO. And it did have a little bit of discoloration to the limbs, which is common for Leia. Not as bad as some examples I've seen, but you can see that the arms and the legs are not nearly the same color as the torso on this Leia. Also did have a little bit of eyebrow rub. That one still sold for $135, believe it or not. So very pricey to pick up those Leias. This is probably at best, probably an 80 grade condition, but that one was the Taiwan example. A couple of different Yodas sold, and this is a testament to just making sure you really zoom in on the photos. So they're not exactly the same, but they're close. This one is the Pac-Man eyes version of Yoda with the light green head and the brown snake. You can see the very pronounced Pac-Man eyes there. One little rub or two on the hands and the feet, but not much. This is probably about 80 grade, 80 plus grade condition. That one sold at an auction for $93 plus $5 shipping. And then this one also sold, that was a brown snake. And, you know, I would argue that this one's probably not in as good a condition. You can see the hands there had some rubs. The feet also had some rubs there. That one sold for $97. Now, it wasn't exactly the same figure. The other one was the Pac-Man eyes. This is kind of the cherry eyes, you know, kind of the reddish brown eyes there on that one. So two different factories obviously manufactured these brown snake Yodas, but both of them did have the light green skin, but just different eye colors there. But this one sold for more than what the Pac-Man eyes sold for, even though I would argue this one's in better condition. $93 versus $97. This seller down in Mexico had some beautiful, complete Lili Ledys for sale. I think I highlighted a few of these in a what to buy video fairly recently, but they did close and I wanted to go through those. First is Chewbacca, and obviously not much difference between the Lili Ledy versus, you know, the standard Kenner Taiwan or Hong Kong, but this one was the Ledy. It sold for $70.69. Good deal on that one. I think I paid $100 for mine ungraded. Got the CAS 85 with mine, but $70 plus $10 shipping, so about $80 on that one. So that's a good target to aim for. Next up was the Lili Ledy TIE Fighter pilot with the correct blaster that has the L stamp on the blaster. And the emblems on this one were in particularly good shape. So there's the emblems there. Really nice condition on this one. Hardly any issues that I can see at all. I mean, the hands were in great shape. And the blaster was the correct L stamped blaster. I'm trying to remember where they stamp it, but it's somewhere on this blaster. They stamp it. There it is, right there at the very tip on the barrel there. You can see a very faint L. So that is the correct blaster that would come with the TIE Fighter pilot, Lili Ledy, or the Neon Gnome. That one sold for $99. So good deal on that one. I think that one's, it had one little emblem issue right there on the sleeve there, but this is probably an 80+ condition all day long. So good deal on that one. $99.99 plus $10 shipping was the final sales price on him. The Lili Ledy Wicket, that's a pretty expensive one. This one also has the L stamp on the little staff of his. That one sold for $190. So big money on Wicket, but as we've talked about, Wicket can be pretty pricey. This one did have some issues, though. It wasn't perfect by any means. You can see the rub to the fur there. So this is probably, what, a 75 plus, somewhere in that range. It still sold for $190 plus $10 shipping. Next up was the Lili Ledy Han Solo in trench coat. This one was in really great shape overall. One little rub there on his belly, but probably an overall 80 or 80 plus. The coat was in pretty decent shape. Couple little frays here and there on the coat, but they sold one recently that sold for about $250, $260 if memory serves. This one wasn't in as good a condition, but it was still a pretty nice example, and it's a tricky one to get complete. $203.19 plus $10 shipping on him. This is one I was very tempted to bid on. This is the Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider, and it included the, I think the 65 back was where the Tusken Raider came with the hollow cheeks. Don't quote me on that. The blister was still slightly attached to the card back, but the figure itself was in great shape. You can still see the silver paint applications were in very good condition. I think this one would grade very high. And it sold for $231 plus $780 shipping on that one. I don't think it was perfect. It had one little discoloration on the cape on the back there, some paint chipping on the top of the horns there on the back, but from the front it displayed great. I think it would get an 80 grade, most likely somewhere in that ballpark, which would be perfectly fine with me, but I'm just not in the buying mood right now. Yeah, so the 65 back B is what this card back is. So that's, I seem to remember it was 65 backs that had the Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider. So there you go. That's a pretty low price, though, for a Hollow Cheeks Tusken Raider. $231 plus $780 shipping. And as a side note, Jaybird is the seller. That's a very trusted seller. I bought from that seller in the past. Last 17 figures. All right, so we got the Imperial Dignitary. No nose rub, but he did have some cheek rub, unfortunately. So, decent shape. I'd say 80 or 80 plus would be the grade on this one. That might be a reflection there on the side of his ribs there, but pretty decent shape, not perfect. It also did include the coin that sold for $225. I've got two different EV99s that sold, and it's a tale of two prices. It's hard for me to judge the condition of EV99. Obviously you got to worry about the limbs cracking off or breaking off. It's a very fragile figure. The eyes were not the same size, so, I don't know if that's paint rub or if it was just a factory error, but he looks a little wonky there. EV99 looks like he had a few too many Jawa's special brews, if you know what I'm saying. He looks a little drunk there. That one was complete, but no coin. That one sold for $272 in an auction plus $6 shipping. And then this one appeared to be in better shape to me, honestly. Again, the eyes were not the same size, so it probably is just a factory issue. He's not nearly as drunk. He's only had one or two of Jawa's brews, whereas this one, he probably had more like 5 or 6. But this one did include the coin, and that one sold for $355 in a buy it now situation, plus the coin. So pretty, not a huge price difference, but I would say that this one, me personally, I would say this is probably the better deal, just because at first glance, the figure does look to be in slightly better condition than this one. But again, it's hard to tell. It's hard for me to tell with EV99. And like a Monomon, he's another figure I have a lot of trouble gauging what it would grade for. But the legs were maybe a little wonky on this one. The legs on this one were maybe a little straighter. So, six of one, half dozen of the other. I don't know. But, with or without the coin, $272 versus $355. Another yak face sold ungraded in an auction, too, for $501. And, to me, it goes back to some of the ones that I see that are UKG 85s for like $600 to $650. To me, that's a better buy than this one, where you're taking a little bit of risk that you're getting one with some paint issues. You can see a scratch right there on the yellow part of his sleeve, and the feet look good. The hands look decent. It looks like there's a rust kind of stain there on his wrist. So to me, this is probably a 75 grade for $501 versus getting one. Now, again, there's people that don't want graded. I get that. So if you don't want it graded, then getting an ungraded example is always going to be cheaper. But this one, to me, I mean, I don't know if I'd pay $500 for this figure, just given the very slight issues there. You can see right here on his hand, it's got some kind of weird rust stain. And then the other sleeve had a scratch. It's hard to see in these photos, but just looking at it, it's not perfect. And, you know, again, it could have discoloration to the torso as well. But it is what it is. The market is what the market bears, and it sold for $501 free shipping. Lando Calrissian, here's another one. This one was complete with the blaster as well as the inner tray for some reason. Pretty clean looking example on him. And that one sold for $226.51 plus $650 shipping. So another data point. Here is an R2D2 Pop-Up Saber, and this goes back to the one that I saw that I think is still for sale. That is a CAS 80 that I think is for just slightly more in terms of price versus this one that is loose and ungraded. But the stickers, and probably I would argue the sticker on this one is in better shape. This one looks to be super clean, would grade very high. It would probably grade higher than the CAS 80 Plus, but you are taking some risks there that it wouldn't. So to me, it looks like an 80 Plus to me all day long. It's a beautiful example of the R2D2 Pop-Up Saber. And as a result, it did sell for a big number, $672 on 46 bids. So lots of action on that one. Next up was a Monomon. You know, again, I always have trouble deciding what kind of shape it's in. I usually look for the top of the forehead there for rubs, and then the arms for kind of rubs and scratches and things. But it looks pretty clean overall. You know, I think it would grade pretty high. It looks like right here. So, you know, it's hard to see, but right here, you can see the paint rub. So you really got to zoom in on these photos, probably at best because of that paint rub in 80 Plus. You know, that's my guess. But again, you're talking to somebody that does not know Last 17 very well. I only have a few of them, but here's another better photo there. You can see where the rub is on the green portion of his head. So that one sold for $250. I've seen higher prices, so you know maybe the market's a little smarter than I am, and they realize that hey, this one's not perfect. It's probably an 80 at best. But $250 on that one was the sales price. This Roma did look very complete. It was advertised as complete and mint, and it did look pretty mint to me. I mean, you know, usually the biggest hang up on Roma is the belt. This portion of the belt where I'm highlighting usually has paint rub right there, but this one looks particularly clean. Just looking at it, no discoloration whatsoever. And this one would grade pretty high, I think. That one sold for 140 pounds over in the UK in a buy it now situation, which is 177 US dollars plus shipping on that one. And here we go. All right, another Sise Fromm sold. This one did look super clean, just looking at it. Look how clean that robe is. And it sold for big money yet again. We just documented, I believe, on the channel, a Sise Fromm that was AFA 85 that Brian's Toys had that I think sold for about $1,200 if memory serves. And again, it's just one of those figures that despite the slowing market, you're going to be paying big money for them. This one sold in an auction for $809 plus $8 shipping. But admittedly, that robe, assuming it's not repro, it looks legit to me. That robe was as clean as, I mean, this looks factory fresh to me. $809 on that one. So, and again, the AFA 85 that Brian's Toys had sold in a best offer accepted situation for, I think, $1,200. Two more droids before we wrap things up. Here is the droids version of C-3PO. Very clean looking example. That one sold in an auction for $588.88 plus $5.80 shipping. There's a nice close-up of the figure. Super clean. Right there on his leg, you can see a couple of little scuffs. And then on this knee right here, there was one scuff. Now, again, those could clean off. I don't know. But it's just something to keep in mind that you got to zoom in on the photos. But otherwise, very clean. Let's call it, you know, you can also see on the crotch area some discoloration. So let's call this one an 80. I think this is probably about an 80 grade. Now, an AFA 85 sold recently for about $800 or $900. So I think that given this final sales price in an auction, I think that's probably right. You can also see right here on this arm, there's some discoloration. So, you know, at first glance, probably an 80. At best, maybe a 75 plus even. So $588 on that one. And then here is the R2D2 Droids version. And this one obviously had some condition issues with the sticker, and you could also see some dirt and things like that. But it was complete with the saber, and it sold for $555. So it sold for Slightly less than the C-3PO, but this is probably a 75 at best for the Droids R2D2. So, you know, $550 to $600 for loose, ungraded, not perfect examples of the Droids C-3PO, R2D2 Droids figures is probably about the right number. So anyway, just some more Last 17 droids and some other examples that I thought were interesting sales. I hope you enjoyed this look at recent sales. Thanks again for watching, and I'll be back soon.